All right, guys, we're live. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone's well. Wherever you are in the world, it was a good weekend. I say welcome. We have a new month, a new week. We're going to use this live stream to recap the week that was. We're going to go over our picks, our wins, and talk a little bit about what's in front of us. So, guys, as you're tapping in, just like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. In the comment section, let me know how you did. It's truly a community effort, JSB community. I always talk about it. It's just not me. It's really a group effort, and that was, never more evident than this weekend's picks. There were two very evident picks that I'll talk about with receipts that we were the community, our group, our insider group, our Discord, our YouTube live chat really came together with multiple picks. It's not just this past weekend, it's every week. And I can't speak highly enough on that. So I say thank you. And we're going to get right into it. I'll stay on as long as you guys want to shoot the breeze. If you guys haven't already, let me just pin this real quick as I'm doing my little rundown. Couple bucks a month. Join on YouTube, become a JSB Insider, or on Patreon. Whichever way you join, you get access to our Discord community. You get our picks. You get more access to me on the YouTube live stream. And Patreon, we have members-only live streams as well. And we're going to get into this. So, yeah, just click that link to find out more. It's pinned in the comment section. Yeah, it was a great weekend. It was a great weekend. I mean, we hit everything. We hit everything in our, of the 9 tickets, we hit 7 out of 9 tickets from Australia up until the main event last night in Arizona. You just can't, we hit 7 tickets this week. Last week, we hit 3. The week before, we hit 5. The week before that, we hit 5. But this past week was it was the first time I ever gave you guys 7 tickets. So pretty awesome. All right, here we go. So these are tickets, and then as you guys are tapping in, okay, so this is in order real quick. This is the quickest way to do this for me, and then I'll give the mic to you guys. So Chanel Dargan, Australia. We hit Dargan on a plus 110. We parlayed that with Romeo at plus 200, so we hit a plus 550 to get the week started. And then in the UK, we hit the Moldovan monster, Konstantin Ursu. That was one of the first tickets I gave you guys. That was our method of victory. That played. All these are plus money, by the way. And then shout out to Mike TV. And this is where I'm talking about. This is where it's literally a group effort. When we did this together, boys. Follow Mike Tyler TV told us that Ben Fail, he gave us some insider scoop. He said that Ben Fail's opponent, Mason Cartwright, looked a little CTE, looked a little sluggish. Why did Mike know that? Mike was supposed to fight Mason Cartwright. That fight didn't go down. So Mike's had his eyes on Mason Cartwright. When he got signed to fight Fail, he was like, look, Ben Fail, big southpaw, both Fail brothers could crack, and Cartwright struggles with southpaw. So we were like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's take Ursu on the money line and Fail by knockout at plus 291. You put both of those together, we hit a plus 490 there. And that finished up our UK card. And then we took a little break and we got ready for Arizona. And, Abel Ramos, man. We talked about Ramos's resume. We talked about the Figueroa curse. And it all came through for us. And I just felt like Tamir Smalls wasn't that guy. I just felt like we hadn't seen Tamir Smalls tested, and we took Ramos as a sprinkle at plus 430. This is one of those dogs I wish I would have went heavier. I did a half unit. That hit. Our UFC parlay hit. I mean, come on. I don't like giving myself credit, but I think moving forward, a point of difference for what we do here is probably just me being a nerd on combat sports, because it's just not boxing. So this is what, 3 out of 4 weeks with the UFC. We hit 3 favorites. Now, when I tell you I don't put dogs on my boxing tickets, that doesn't mean I don't do it in UFC. So we did 3 chalk and we did 1 dog, Lonnie Kavanaugh. And Kavanaugh main evented in Mexico against Brandon Moreno. And I told you why I like Kavanaugh. I said that this kid is going to be a star. I felt like he was super athletic. And I just felt like at this time in their career, Brandon Moreno was ripe for the pickings. And that's exactly what happened. Kavanaugh beat him pillar to post. And so that hit. Our UFC parlay plus 490 hit. And then our go-to, the big feature fight, Navarrete on the money line. I said all week that those odds were wrong. I was shocked that Sugar Nunez was the favorite on the odds, but more importantly, we were grateful and we were thanking the bookies for getting it wrong. And once again, we swindled them. I put that bet in early. If you see Tuesday, so you see the little timestamp, I put that bet in Tuesday, my Tuesday, which was your Monday in America. We got Nav at plus 185. That was my heaviest. Multiply that with the Nunez and Navarrete fight, not to go the distance, plus 485. And it was a great weekend. And, you know, here's the team effort. That's my team. That was the mic. You know, we already covered this. I want to give a special shout out to Blue Collar Boxing. I haven't. So shout out to Mike Tyler. Shout out to everybody on our group. But Blue Collar Boxing, he doesn't even know this. But before I smashed Navarrete on the money line last Tuesday, I was leaning Sugar Nunez. Until, and I hadn't taped it yet. I mean, obviously I know their careers, but I started reading the comments on my on YouTube. And it was Blue Collar Boxing posted a comment last Sunday, and all he said was, Johnny, Sugar Nunez struggles boxing backwards. And that's all I needed here. I was like, holy shit, he does struggle. All he does is go front forward. I was like, Navarrete is going to be the bigger guy. So anyway, all in all, you guys know who I took. Shout out to Blue Collar. He helped me flip that. I never even told you guys I was probably going to bet Nunez. When I revisited the tape, when I listened to Blue Collar and what he said about Sugar, and I was like, yeah. And this is why I do. This is why our community is the best, man. JSB, our Discord, is because I'm not married to any of my initial ideas. I lean on you guys just as much as you guys lean on me. This is how we get these dubs. You know what I'm saying? The Ben Fail knockout. Shout out to Mike. The good keen eye by Blue Collar. And we're up. We're up. I'm gonna say what's up to you boys. PJ now. This is PJ. We got two PJs in our squad. We got PJ, the promoter from Philly, and we got PJ Hunted. So, hey, Johnny, when I first joined on here, I didn't see a link to get into the actual Discord after purchase. That includes... Yeah. Okay. PJ, I thought you were in the Discord. So I will send you the link on Patreon. That's crazy. My bad. I thought 100% you were already locked in. Navarrete versus Foster. Guys, I got to be honest with you. I don't. I mean, if that's the version of Navarrete we're getting, that you know, and I hate saying I predicted it. I did say in my breakdown that we were going to see the best version of Emmanuel Navarrete. I said that. I didn't think he was washed. If that's the version of Navarrete we're getting, I would take Navarrete over Foster. I'm sorry. I don't think I would, man. Dude, that guy last night, he was craftier than I've ever seen him. His energy levels carried all the way through up until the end. He was accurate and he was equally as unorthodox. That guy, how do you bet against Navarrete? I mean, I got to be honest with you. He hires the nutritionist, which we knew about. We talked about. We said, hey, this guy's switched on. We talked about Mexico versus Mexico rivalry. You're telling me that guy's not going to come in on point. We talked about Sugar Nunez's resume being suspicious. We talked about Navarrete's size advantage, his world-class experience, and all the things he does well, forcing his opponents on the back foot. We talked about Nunez's flaws in terms of his... I told you Nunez didn't punch as hard as people said. I said that Nunez didn't have the power that people spoke about. I talked about how that knockout to win ratio was suspicious. His short arms, his small fists, all that good stuff. Navarrete had all those advantages. I mean, you could talk about... I don't know if Foster has enough volume to beat Navarrete. I don't think Foster has enough power to beat Navarrete. Dude, that version of Navarrete, I would take over anyone at 130. I don't see how that guy, dude. Fuck that guy, man. That performance was off the hook. Let me sit with it. Let's let Nav enjoy his victory until we get another fight booked. I mean, I'd like to see Charlie Suarez I want to give. I'd like to see Charlie Suarez get another shot. Will that happen? Probably not. Discord coming full circle. Great weekend. Yeah, GK, big dog, man. We're coming along, man. Our Discord, we're about 6 months in. I think our group is finally figuring out who we are. Our group is developing our own identity. In the first few months of starting the Discord, I never even had heard of the app before. It's not like I didn't know what the app was, and I'm still figuring out the functionality. But the first few months, man, you got trolls in there. You got people who just spend a couple bucks a month, but they want to see us fail. They want to. Then you got people who poke their eye in. They pay to get in, but then they stick around too long, and then they wait for us to lose, and then they talk shit, and they just cause this negative. But over time, we've gotten those people out of there, and it's really evolving into a tight knit community, win or lose, and that's what I want. That was my main goal from jump. I don't care how big it grows. My goal was always to build a community around like-minded boxing heads. It's the greatest sport on earth, and I feel that's what we're doing. David Eister, Nunez got messed up. I felt he took this fight too soon. I mean, Monday morning quarterback, right? We could talk about the what ifs with Nunez. I just feel that version of Navarrete beats Nunez best version. Like that guy, every little flaw, if the questions that people had in Vaquero, I just had an intuitive instinct that we weren't going to see those. Like if you understand rivalries and you understand like and I told the story on the live stream about how competitive when I worked at that Latin nightclub and all of the guys in the back that I was friends with were from Michoacan and how everything was competitive. We gambled on everything, whether it's playing a quarter, throwing a quarter on a line. And I was like, you're telling me that this kid Vaquero isn't going to go into this fight. He's the living legend, going to be more prepared than ever. I was like, and I gambled on that, and I went all in on that, and it paid off for us. Skeezy, Nunez got messed up. That was what's up, guys? Been away for a week and a half. Lost of catch. Skeezy, Perth in the house. Come on, baby, we miss you. Nunez almost lost an eye in the ring last night. Navarrete was vicious. He was vicious. When I actually thought, GK, the round before it got stopped, when the eye was swollen, and then the start of the next round, Navarrete landed, and then it started bleeding. I thought that Navarrete was like, I don't want to hurt this guy anymore. You know what I'm saying? He kind of gave a look. He didn't. Obviously, he kept pouring it on. They stopped it. I thought the corner probably should have stopped it. I know that Eddie in the crowd was saying to stop it. I know that the legend El Campeon was telling everybody to stop it. It almost looked like Navarrete didn't want to hurt him even worse. It was a bad matchup style. Dude, that guy is a bad matchup for anybody though. Stylistically, that's a bad matchup. It was interesting. What I was waiting on was to see if Nav was going to get cut. Cuz that was a pretty it was a slicing cut from the Suarez fight, and I was like, will that skin be 100% ever again? No cuts. I mean, he got hit to the body, and the announcers were glazing Sugar's work to the body. The announcers were Sergio Mora drives me insane. I have a love-hate relationship with Sergio Mora. Sometimes I like him, sometimes I hate him. And I'm just being honest with you guys. And not as a person. I don't hate anybody. I don't have hate in my heart. But like as a boxing enthusiast, listening to his commentary, I just don't understand his intentions sometimes. And I don't like the little nitpick back and forth he has with the other guy on there. I don't really pay it, but he's almost so convincing with his glazing sometimes I second guess what I'm watching. That's not the job of an announcer. The job of an announcer is to guide the viewer through the journey of the fight, not some misconstrued false pseudo perspective of what this guy wants to be happening. And so like I'm watching what fight I'm watching Nav dominate, and then part of me is like, is Nav gonna get stopped to the body? Because the whole time it's like Mora is setting that up, and I'm like, is he seeing something I'm not seeing? Like Sugar probably landed a few clean shots. Nav got a big head. Nav is durable. God damn, he was a joy to watch, man. When you talk about a guy that you would not teach his style to anybody. Like but he makes it work, man. I'm not the first guy. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. You guys watch the same fight I watch. But generally, I wouldn't be so appreciative of a style that's so flawed. But with his style, how he uses it, the character how he fights, dude, those combinations on the ropes, back against the ropes, dude, how he's able to generate power at such a short range. That hook, dude, that one, the uppercut, he does all of that. He'll do the scoop. Jesus. I actually didn't want that fight to end, believe it or not. Julia's eating steak and pasta from the steak. Eating steak from the steak. All thanks to I'm about to go get I would be joining you at that steakhouse, you know that. PJ, man. Appreciate you guys. However you can support the cause, support the channel. It helps me do this. It helps me stay super connected. Obviously, I juggle 2 careers. I put just as much energy I do into this as I do to my fitness career. Helping people and coaching people is my passion, but boxing's my first love. So however you can support me, it helps take stress off of the one thing and helps me out a lot. You guys have no idea. So thank you, PJ. And PJ, I will say I can't. My bad on you not being in the Discord. So I thought you were in the Discord. This is crazy, dude. You're gonna love it in the Discord. That's insane. I'll send it. I'm gonna do it right now. So PJ, I'm gonna message you the link on Patreon. I can't believe you're not in there. All right, copy link, Patreon. Where's PJ at? I got to make an announcement because we do have we have PJ the promoter, one of our OGs, in there, but he's a comic, so like he's a stand-up comic, so he kind of could be a little bit controversial. So I heard somebody on our live stream last week thinking that you were because you're very positive. PJ the promoter will be negative. So when you enter, I'm going to let everybody know, hey, this is a different PJ. Okay, so PJ, send message, direct message. That's crazy. I never sent it to you. All right, check your messages, bro. It's in there. I just messaged you on Patreon. Navarrete's resume is insane now. He's lingering outside. 31 years old. Got to do nutritionist Navarrete now. We got to give him a nickname. You know, that version of him, locked in, whatever we want to call it, locked in Navarrete, switched on Navarrete. I don't know, nutritionist Navarrete. He's a goddamn nightmare, dude. At 1:30, like, who was saying he wanted that smoke last night? I was watching a live stream. Fulton, cool boy said he wanted that smoke. I was like, no. I had to message him. I was like, no, you don't. You don't want that smoke. Do we have action? Yes, we have 3 cards, guys. We have the Zuffa card, headlined by Jaya Pataya versus Brandon Clanton. There's going to be right now the books aren't showing. They might just be showing that fight. We have the Eye of the Tiger card, the Canadian-based promoter based out of Montreal. There's a lot of mid-tier domestic fights on that, but we're gonna make money. Stephen Butler's on that card. He's literally a live by the sword, die by the sword guy. He's like 36-5, been knocked out 5 times, but has like 32 knockouts. Super fun. He'll never be a world champion. I had to message somebody in our Discord because they were clowning him. They're like, oh, Stephen Butler, shit. I'm like, bro, every time Stephen Butler fights, we make a lot of money. Because the fight's going to end before the final bell. B, he's either going to win by knockout or get knocked out. So that guy's fighting. And then the UFC. So we have 3 cards. I'm going to be breaking down all 3. I'm going to do a Stats Don't Lie video from one of each cards. I'm going to do a Stats Don't Lie video on the Jaya Pataya, Brandon Glenn. I'm going to do a Stats Don't Lie on Stephen Butler in the Ramadan fight. And then I'm going to do a Stats Don't Lie on the UFC, the fight. I just got to make sure it's the fight I want to do, because there's some interesting matchups on that UFC card. Oh, Oliveira versus Max 2. They fought when they both fought. They fought once when they were both at 145 pounds, maybe 10 years ago. And that's when Oliveira was getting pushed up against the octagon. And all of a sudden he collapses. And this is before he started on his winning streak. And people were saying he quit, but he actually like tore his esophagus or something. And that first fight, it ended early. So this is the rematch a decade late. Better late than never. I'm going to break that down as well. So we got action. Guys, what do I always say? We're archaeologists. We're digging. We're going to go on our little archaeological dig. We're going to seek out the fights. We're going to wait for odds to drop, and then we're going to find our victories. That's what we do. Randvar, this is one of the best weekends ever. There's nothing like betting on combat sports. I just hate it. There's only once. Well, Randvar, this is a great comment. I agree with your sentiment. I just disagree with your perspective. The reason why I feel it's a beautiful thing that it's only once or twice a week, because then it allows us to prepare for it. It allows us to have boundaries. It allows us to sort of hold boxing and MMA in a higher regard in relation to other things you bet on. I don't bet on anything else. You look at your betting app, they want to force feed you everything. They want to say, hey, $100 bonus bet if the footy season just started, the NRL season just, don't do it. Now we do have baseball season coming up, and NRL just started, AFL just started. We have all the pro sports in our betting Discord. But if you find yourself consistently making money off of betting on boxing, just bet on boxing, mate. And if you're winning, and if your winnings are substantial enough that they could pay your mortgage, that they could pay a loan, that they could pay a bill, cash out. That's what I always say. Every week, the goal is every week to cash out so you can pay something or save something, depending on what your bankroll is. If you're, grinding in your bankroll, you're building it and you're learning, then use the sort of philosophy of, if I won, even if it's a little bit, a couple $100, this could pay this and that, fucking pay it. And now we're up, right? And if your bankroll is big enough, then save, and then that'll allow you to take bigger risks moving forward. So like, let's say your bankroll, you want your bankroll to be 10 grand, it's at 1,000. Your bills are legit. You're making enough money to where you're not sweating anything, and you're betting from an entertainment perspective, hopefully to get good enough to have a little sort of second income coming in. Then, if you're up 1,000, up 1,500, keep it in, and then try to build from there. So it's just different strategies. But if you're new to the game and you're starting to win consistently, take the winnings and pay something with it, because then it becomes real. If you hit for $500 and you just double down and you put it on esports and you lose it, what did you just do? But if you hit for $500 and you got bills to pay, fucking take it out and pay those bills, and then you come back and deposit whatever your one unit is and rebuild from there. So it's really a good feeling when you get to a point of consistency where you're paying off stuff off of betting on boxing. That's what we do. That's what, and I know guys, just depending on your bankroll, that should always be the goal. It shouldn't be to win and then lose it all. You know what I'm saying? And I'll be the first to tell you, don't do that. I thought Smalls Ramos should have been a draw. I didn't, man. I didn't. Maybe because I had the Swindler hat on, but I thought it was easy to score. I thought it was easy to score, and I thought the first 4 rounds were Tamir's, and then I thought the last 6. I gave the last 6. Even the end of round 4, you could see it turning, and then 5 it was turned. And if you're in the Discord, I was like, this is. I commented after round 4 because I saw it turning. I just didn't know what the outcome was going to be, and you guys knew I took Abel. And if you look in the Discord, I said, no matter how this turns out, Tamir Smalls isn't the one. He's not. You could see it. You could see. I don't know if it's a preparation issue. It's not a skill issue. I like his jab. I like. I don't. The things I didn't like about him is how he fell apart. So is that a conditioning issue? Is that a preparation issue? You wouldn't think it would be sparring in Philly, coming from Bosie's camp. You would think he would have all those boxes ticked, but I'm not with him. I don't know. We just saw Wu. Wu comes from that camp. I'm pretty sure, Wu looked great against Frank. So I just never, there was nothing I had ever seen with Tamir fighting that I thought he was going to be able to handle Abel. I've been watching Abel. I mean, we've been watching Abel for, he's been a pro for a long time, at least a decade. Regis stopped him in 2015, dude. That was the first and only time he'd ever got stopped. That was 11 years ago. He fought, what, 7 world champions? Abel Ramos is the dude. I was like, there's no way this guy should be plus 480. And then the more experience you guys get in the game, the more boxing you watch. I know a lot of you guys watch either more or, equally as much as I do. So the ones who are just getting into the sport, over time, you'll develop a gauge. You'll develop your own sort of reasoning on how to bet based off of career trajectories and what you've seen from these fighters. Moving a fighter properly is a very, there's science just in that. The movement of a fighter is very important. And this is where we get it right. This is why, look at the stats. Stats don't lie. We always hit dogs because it's one of the things I look for. You can't, what do they always talk about? You can't see something if you're not looking for it. You know what I mean? What do archaeologists do? They're searching for fossils and, they're looking for it. So I'm looking for career trajectories when I see odds. If I see odds big, I'm not, we don't, it's not like we pick only dogs either. You can't get caught. We got to make sure we don't ever get caught into just taking dogs, throwing shit at a wall and hopefully it sticks. That doesn't work either. So I think one of the things that we do well consistently picking dogs is what we're looking for. And in that matchup, man, I just knew. I was like, and then, Tamir at $1.22, you're telling me that this kid with under 20 pro fights, never fought at the world level, I'm getting $22 back on a $100 bet when I could get almost 5 times my money back on the dog? I'm like, what? Now, we did lose the long parlay. Shout out to Trini Ochoa. I got to talk about the losses too, boy. The long parlay got dusted, but the crazy thing about the long parlay, there were 8 legs on it, and it only paid plus 110 because I put it in super early in the week, and we didn't have all the other fight options. So generally, I didn't even care. That's the long parlay for me is always a half unit. It's fun if it hits. If it doesn't hit, you'll still get people crying about it. Trini Ochoa, no bet list. Kavanaugh is a dog, man. Lonnie, I watched Lonnie on The Contender. I knew that his mother's Chinese and his mother was into martial arts. So Lonnie is one of these kids, this sort of like modern era mixed martial artist who from the time he could crawl, he was doing some sort of martial art. You could see his strength and conditioning as well. This is another thing. When you look at the body types, you could tell who does strength and conditioning and who doesn't. Look at Brandon Moreno's body type. He looks soggy. You could tell he doesn't. He's all about. He's more of a skill guy, a guy who's going to spar, a guy who's going to work on the skills. And you have a new age guy who's connected with strength and conditioning, has a sport. You could see it. And look at Lonnie Kavanaugh's body type. And that's another thing: the youthfulness, the energy, and where they were trending. That's what I loved. Dude, we got Kavanaugh at plus 274. That was crazy too. Granted, he took it on. People, oh Johnny, but Kavanaugh took it on 3 weeks' notice. Bro, he was in fight camp. His fight was going to be March 13th. So speed it up. Let's go. Jay, right now I'm leaning distance Glanton and Jai. It wasn't that long ago I was really, really high on Brandon Glanton. It was the CBS fight. I like Glanton, man. I like how mean. Both guys are mean, too. This is going to be interesting. I can't wait to see the face-off. I want to see which alpha is fooling or not. Because, being down here in Australia, seeing Jai fight, he's really mean. He fights mean. He plays that role. Brandon Glanton, I think he's from Georgia, might be from the ATO. He's a mean dude. It's going to be interesting in the face-off. Because if there's any crack in Jai Apatai's persona, Glanton's going to take advantage. And Glanton's a big dude. Glanton could punch. He's a good body puncher. Jai Apataya stands right in front of you. He puts his chin right there. Jai's super athletic, super lean, explosive. He's there to get hit, though. Glanton at 8-1 is crazy. Keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes on your books. Keep your eyes on your books. Jai's had his jaw broken before in a fight. Pretty sure it was the big kid from... Who broke Jai's jaw? Now, granted, he sent his last 4 to 5 opponents into the hospital. Yeah, Maris Bradis in 2022 broke Jai's jaw in 2 places. Jai Pattaya famously fought through a broken jaw in 2 places to defeat Maris Bradis in July 2022, securing the IBF Cruiserweight World Title. The injury occurred in round 2. He gets his jaw broken in round 2. Yet he finished the 12-round fight. He underwent surgery for the injury shortly after. So yeah, I'm just saying he's there to get hit. Brandon get punched. I didn't like the lack of answers Brandon had for CBS, but CBS did fight one of the best fights we saw him fight in a while. It's just like you got to see the limited offensive arsenal of Brandon Glanton. Will that be able to? But then again, you got Jai who's super aggressive. Brandon's not going to have to find Jai. You know what I mean? It's not like Glanton's going to have to seek out Apataya. It's an interesting fight, man. Is Elijah Pierce no sin? We called that. We called that. Yeah, we knew that was going to happen. I told you guys in the live, either take a knockdown prop or the fight not to go the distance. We won money on that fight. Bradley picks on Navarrete. Bradley picks on everybody. If you guys ever see me as I get older, I'm already old, but as I get older, getting grumpy, even let's say we would have lost every fight and we're doing this live stream and the energy, the sentiment's different. And you're seeing me start yelling and call me out on that shit. Life should be fun. You know what I mean? Like Timothy Bradley, he's always getting angry, man. We got devastating right hook Carlos. What a name. I wage 100, 1-5. That's plus 400, big dog. Devastate DRHC. Got to get that tatted somewhere. Dr. HC. Devastating right hook Carlos. Dr. Hook. I'm going to shorten that to Dr. Hook. I won 2 parlay. Appreciate you, brother. We appreciate the support. Appreciate the Donnie on TV. I called it late. You weren't the only one, boo-boo. You weren't the only one. JSB Insiders, we up. Small should have known Ramos would be the favorite with the judges, but some fighters don't really fight for the leg. I felt sent from Pet it wasn't a judge issue. I don't think it was that. I felt like it was a preparation issue. It looked to me, Tamir, he got buzzed. He got buzzed, I think, in the 8th. But his cardio, he came unraveled. When a guy comes unraveled, to me, that, what was he, 16-0? When you see a guy come unraveled due to pressure, I got to question has he been taken into the dark place before in sparring? I instantly think he's never been beaten up before. Like in sparring. It's important, and then that's kind of wild because you think what's a better word for stereotype? The sort of spoken knowledge of Philly gyms are like it's tough sparring. You had Jack Catterall go to Philly, and he looked. When Catterall left the UK and went to Philly, he looked great, and he's looked good since. In a lot of he said it's due to the sparring. So when I say then if it's not the sparring, then it's like wow, you're not conditioned, because this is another thing why you would come unraveled is if the pressure or somebody's putting the pace on you. Which Abel's such a veteran, man. I love how Abel he did it such like a true pro. Nothing looked demonstrative in his pace that he was putting on him. It was slow and steady, and it was almost like Tamir Smalls before he realized what was happening. It's the 8th round, and it's real close, and he didn't know how to fight from behind either. It's another thing that Abel Ramos, and I talked about why I was similar to Navarrete as well. I'll get to the point on Navarrete. But like Abel Ramos's losses at the world level, I felt like we're going to get him past the finish line here because he was fighting a guy who had never been there. You know what I'm saying? Like when you've never been somewhere, how do you know what to expect? And you put yourself in the middle of a ring and you're starting to fade a bit and you don't know, and you think you're down or it's a close fight with a few rounds left, and now you got your corner talking to you in a way that you're not used to it. They're stressed out and they're having anxiety, and then you've always been a front runner. How do you deal with that? And then that makes you unravel. Watching him unravel like that, it makes me question a few different things. Like, have you ever been beaten up in sparring before? Have you ever had to come back from the dead before? Been down? You know, some guys can't be the nail. They're only the hammer. They're great. And this was the biggest knock on Mike Tyson's career. This is from Teddy Atlas. These are his words, not mine. Teddy Atlas on Joe Rogan once said that in his eyes, Mike Tyson was 0-5. He said Mike Tyson never won a fight. He retired never winning a fight. Said he was 0-5. Rogan's like, what are you talking about? And Teddy was like, well, every time in all the fights that Tyson was down on the cards losing, he either quit or got out, or he was stopped. He wasn't able to come back from the dead. He was the type of guy who was a front runner, got out on the scorecards real, and then just watched you. But whenever there was adversity, he didn't know how to deal with it, which is interesting. And you could believe or agree with Teddy with that, or you don't have to. I kind of disagree with him a little bit. I mean, early on in that run, I think is what, 24, 25, first 21 fights. I mean, he was in there. He was a 5'9", 5'10" heavyweight going against fucking 6'5" giants. And there was a couple of those back and forth fucking slobber knockers, which he ended up, getting the best of. But it's interesting. That's what, and I knew Abel Ramos wouldn't fade like that. I knew Abel wouldn't take a back step. And then when Navarrete, one of my talking points was the fact that some of the boys on some of the other channels were saying that he was washed or he had been in wars, blah, blah, blah. I was like, that's exactly why I'm picking him. You know what I mean? Like, that's exactly the world experience that I need as a gambler that is going to help him beat Nunez. Because Nunez, on the other hand, had never been there before. How am I going to bet? This is another thing. This is another strategy I'm giving you. I always give you guys free game, but it's another strategy of how I bet is in my checklist. I always ask myself, has this guy been there before? If you've never been somewhere before, it's really tough to predict how you're going to act. Like anything. It's why traveling the world is good for your soul. It expands your mind. You act differently when you travel. As a fighter, if you've never been in a 12-round fight, how do you know as the fighter how you're going to act? If you've never been against a world champion, if you've never been down on the cards, if you've never been on the canvas before and have to pick yourself up, how do you know? The fighter doesn't know how they're going to act. So as the bettor, the analyst, I know how the other guy's going to act. I have evidence. I have records. So to think that those wars were going to work against Navarrete, how? Well, I mean, I don't see it, and it worked for us. Shock Foster would beat Navarrete. I do not agree, man. Not that. No, I do not agree. I don't agree with that at all. And look, there's no Jay. You and I don't get anything out of predicting future fights that aren't even on paper. But if that comes to fruition, we'll revisit this. I definitely would not take Shock against Navarrete. I wouldn't take Cool Boy Steph against Navarrete. I wouldn't take anyone at 130. Again, that guy last night beats Foster, man. I don't think Foster has enough volume. I don't think Foster has enough power. All that speed and counter boxing. I'm a Shock fan. He put on a brilliant display in his last fight. But all that little good stuff against the Navarrete, who's long, awkward, has pace, doesn't fade. You give me that Navarrete last night, he beats Foster. Who at 130, I think nobody beats him right now. Navarrete was good in shape. He's been a little flab. He hired a nutritionist. This is what I'm talking about. We got level up Navarrete. We might get another decade of Navarrete, boys. Could you imagine? I mean, the Mexican fighters have been known to fight long into their careers. This is a living legend. He's only 31, boy. I felt like we were watching a renaissance. I felt like we were watching a rebirth. Like, who is this guy? Mate, 31 is not, only been dropped once, never been stopped. It's an exciting sort of turn of events. I hope he fights Shock. That'd be a great fight. I wager 100 to win 5 for Navarrete. 100. Look at you, brother. Get your money, Dr. Hook, boy. The odds for Mean Green were insane. Wow. Did anybody take Bobby to win by stoppage? Money Mooch. A little showtime. Foster's 547. Foster's bigger, biggest 130 out there. They're still going to be fighting at 130. And stylistically, man, pressure, dude, that pressure forward, volume as well. Because, you know, it's not like he's just on his front foot. He's constantly working, and he could fight, dude. The work he was doing on the inside, that slick ass slip shoulder inside uppercut he kept throwing. He'd slip, and I talked about this in the breakdown. Sugar Nunez does what? Gives you both shoulders. This is another thing, dude. It's crazy that people miss this. Crazy. Gives you both shoulders. I was like, Navarrete is slick, man. He's gonna go scissors. I was like, those uppercuts, and there were some exchanges where Nav was just on the ropes like this. Sugar gives him both shoulders, and Nav splits that, and he's just hitting him here. And then he's throwing that slap hook, that one. Boy, that shit. His work off the ropes was I was watching Navarrete, and I kept thinking, I was like, man, this is like watching an unk fight. He was out there, old man in Nunez, like an experienced pro, like a seasoned veteran, like a world-class seasoned champion. Put it on him. That was a joy. I might watch it again tonight. That was a joy to watch. Who you got between Foster? Oh, Foster. I'm not sold on Ray Ford, man. I don't think Ray Ford. I like Shock to beat Ford. I'm high on Shock Foster. Like, Shock Foster's my dude. I think Foster beats Ford. I think Foster would show Ford some questions. I think Ford's game is very it's not a world. I don't know, man. Ray Ford's game is overall sort of versatility in what he does. He's still growing though. He's still adding levels. You know, he's young enough. I remember the last time we saw Ray fight, I remember talking about that. I was like, wow, you know, he's showing that he's punching now. He's sitting on shots a little bit better. So he's not a finished product. You know, I don't like guessing, and you know, I'm not trying to talk shit on Ray Ford because I'm a fan of him too. This is why I'm always hesitant to give opinions on fights that aren't in the books, because we could talk. I don't want this to turn into me talking shit about some guy or coming off like that. But off jump, if that were going down, I would be taking Shock. But if Shock fought Nav, I would take Nav. But I want time to pass because I don't know if how much of this is just recency bias. Because that version of Nav, man, that shit was inspired. That was inspiring work. King, Johnny, you did it again. I didn't. Come on. How many times? You know, the next time you're gonna listen, we're gonna lose. You know you're doing that to me, King. Don't do that to me, boys. Don't do that to me. Just do what you do. I'm gonna make it do what it do, baby. You do what you do. You did it again. I didn't listen. I need to start listening. Stop second guessing. I should have did the parlay I sent on IG. Was it on? What did you go against? Who did you flip flop on? Buddy Nav is like funny dancing with Brit. Man, his hands are massive. I remember in 2023, after Terence Crawford fought Spence, they did that yearly awards in the Caribbean. I think it's the WBC awards in the Caribbean, and there was a photo floating around of Crawford and Navarrete, and they're like, "This." We try, dude. Navarrete's freaking hands. His hands are like that much bigger, and Crawford had some paws on him. I don't know how to find it. Moore falls in love with the fighter and forgets on the great stuff the other fight. He does, doesn't he? It's hard to watch sometimes. All right, I'm glad I'm not the only one. It's frustrating to watch because we want you to do analyst work. We want you to talk about the fight, the setups, the breakdowns, what he's doing. We need more of that, man. You know, I used to break. I like. People always ask me, Johnny, why don't you go live during the fights? It's because I like watching the fights in peace. I've never liked watching fights in public. I hate going. I'll never go to a bar in public. I'll never go. Since I was a kid, my dad and I used to watch fights just together, and I don't. You know, it's just something I enjoy doing. But I also I like breaking down. I like doing play by play. So before the channel was growing a couple years ago, I would do live streams and I would do play by play, round by round. And now because we're growing, I don't like doing it. I enjoy doing it, but I'd rather watch the fight from a different lens. But we need more people who like I like breaking the fight down, situationally when while it's going on in real time. What one fighter's doing with his offense, what the other fighter needs to do. Why is he circling this way? Why is why how he's setting that jab up, the corrections he has to make. Like that's the shit I like. I'm a nerd about it. And when I hear guys like Sergio Mora talking about like, bullshit and literally like gaslighting the viewer, I'm like, bro, man, what are you doing? I used to cheer for you, man. I used to cheer for your career, dude. Yeah, I didn't want to talk. Look, and I don't want to sound like I'm home team in here, but everybody's flawed. There's no. I do like pro box. I like when Coach Garcia is in the booth with Paulie and Chris, and they keep you can tell. I like listening to Chris. Chris keeps it technical. And then Paulie is that good balance between professional and passionate. Chris stays in the pocket. Algeria, I'm talking. Paulie's a wizard, but every now and then he'll get out of pocket, which I like. I think that's a good counterbalance. And Coach Garcia, Robert Garcia, man, he's always even keel. He doesn't speak enough, but I think because he doesn't speak enough, when he does speak, it's like boom. So I love that mix between Algieri, Paulie, and Coach Garcia. But when you go from a pro box card and hear those guys to like the zone, it's like, what the fuck is. I like the UK though. I gotta be honest, man. I love watch. It's one of the reasons I like watching British boxing. I like how the UK boys do it. Rando, you giving me props? Rando, Johnny, they go good freaking since we my boy out here finding value. Yeah, guy, I tip my hat. Appreciate you, man. However you can tip me, whether it's a tip of the hat, subscribing, like this live. We're flowing between 50 and 80. It keeps going. It'll say like 52, 60, 49, 80. So whatever it is, man, it's Monday morning, Monday afternoon. We're about 50 minutes in. Whenever you catch this stream, just like it, comment, let me know what your thoughts. And we're doing Randall Light. You're an OG of the JSB Insider, so I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate the support. Sergio Moore and Chris Man, bro. And I don't want to come. I don't like complaining. Like how I don't want to come off like I'm bitching, but it's like, bro, like it. Yeah, I don't want to harp too many more points on it. They're just trying to feed their families once a week. Once or twice a week is so much better. Try betting on NBA every day. Nah, Skeezy, don't do it, big dog. Betting on the. I played that game when the NBA season started. I put a couple bets up in the Discord. We have the NBA channel. But then, and I watched the NBA. I mean, I watched just as you guys would be shocked. I'm a Cavs fan. We almost lost today to the Nets. Actually, I turned it off with 4 seconds to go live. The Cavs were up. The cat with 48 seconds up. Cleveland was up 9. And then I look, it's like 4 seconds, they're up 3. Now, granted, Mitchell's hurt. Um, JA's been playing better since we got the beard, but the beard has a small fracture. So we're not really 100% healthy. But betting on the NBA at the beginning of the season, I realized like this shit it's not the NBA that I grew up, that even 10 years ago. You'll have a team if you're because I'm a prop better. You'll have guys who average 25 a game, and then you'll put props up, and then all of a sudden there's always these massive blowouts. One team will jump out by like 30, and then they'll pull the starters, and then your guy who you need him to score 25, he scores 20 in the first quarter, and then plays 8 minutes the rest of the game, and it's like what the fuck, dude. So I avoid betting on the NBA. I agree, Earl. I agree, mate. I mean, it's tough to argue that one. I mean, what three division world champion. Like his at 31, he's still around, man. Now, I think we could. I don't think it's shocking to say maybe we have at least he has 3 more, maybe 4 more good years if he's living his life healthy. Because no alcohol, none of the bullshit. What if we saw Nav one day with a 6-pack? That would be crazy. Trini cost me another 700. Oh, Trini Ochoa, yuck. You bet $700 on Trini Ochoa? Oh, okay, cost you $700 profit. That's when you know we all right. That's when you know we when we start counting our losses as the profit that we lost. Yeah, Trini Ochoa only appeared once on all my tickets, and it was on a half unit long parlay. It wasn't a fight that we were invested in. Top dog, appreciate you, Toya. Bro, I forget to bet while I was in NC. This is crazy. So here's a quick. The Ginger with Intent to Injure, great nickname, says, bro, I forgot to bet while I was in North Carolina. It's illegal in South Carolina. So I lived in South Carolina from 2002 to 2003 playing Summer League baseball from Memorial Day to Labor Day. They called it short season. And I lived in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And I got this tattoo, this tattoo. I got my eye pierced, and I used to have my nipples pierced, which was insane. I used to date a freak. The girl I was dating at the time, she was a freak, boy. She used to want everything pierced. But we couldn't get it. We couldn't get tattoos or piercings in South Carolina, so we had to drive to Wilmington, North Carolina, at this tattoo shop called the Jaded Monkey. So I remember thinking, like, what the hell, dude? I'm living in a spring break, crazy ass beach town, threesomes all the time, like everything. They say if you live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, there's a hole for everybody. Because all Myrtle at the time in 2002 was strip clubs, putt-putt courses, and golf courses. There's a hole for everyone. A hole for the adult, a hole for the men playing golf, a hole for the kids playing putt-putt, and then the strip clubs. But yeah, it's shocking that you can. It's the Bible Belt, man. Carolina girl, finest in the world. Some of the most beautiful women I've ever run across was when I lived in the Carolinas. Small as was it can do. I think that was it too. We got Mark. Oh, super chat time, baby. Appreciate you, Mark, man. JSB Insider. However, you can support the team, support the cause. You help me out. Got to tip the bartender whenever you have a chance. Hey, I tip my cap to you too, big dog. Thank you, sir. He wasn't ready for Ramos's power, and his endurance went out halfway through. Yeah, it was. I wasn't shocked because I picked Abel. I felt like we would see that. I didn't know how it would show up. I didn't know the optics of what was going to happen. I felt like Abel's world-class experience was going to get us over the top, but you don't always know how that's going to look. I was actually shocked to see how that came to be. I thought when Abel gave away those first 4 rounds, I was like, fuck, dude. What? And then you started seeing the game plan. It was a great game plan how he executed, turning the volume up slightly. So it was something they saw in Tamir to do that. They were like, let's, he's young kid, undefeated, dangerous early. Let's, take his best shots, taste his power, see what it feels like, taste his speeds, long jab. I felt like early days, Tamir could have won that fight with his jab. You know what I'm saying? Like he could have won. And it's not like Abel has quick feet. It's not like he's the biggest puncher. It's just the seasonedness, what he's seen in the ring, how he has operated at the highest level for over a decade. In a boxing match, this is why moving fighters is as technical as the sport itself. How a fighter is moved is sometimes that's the difference, is the experience. You could have a guy who's younger, bigger, better jab, faster, more explosive, more power. In Tamir Smalls, who's going up against a guy who has 6 losses, but that guy in Abel Ramos has been at the world level for so long, he's going to find a way to win. And that's what we bet on, and that's what happened. I was confused that line wasn't moving. It stayed at minus 200 for Sugar. Right? It didn't move at all. I thought it was going to move too, man. It moved slightly down here in Australia. I jumped at plus 185, and then by fight night it was plus 170. So not the end of the world, but it stayed, man. People were digging their heels in. Shout out, I mean, whatever way. That's people. And you know what it was, Andre. And this is another thing. People fell in love with that knockout to win ratio. In one of my lives I talked about, and people were arguing with me on the live. I said that Sugar doesn't have power. They're like, "What are you talking about? 29 wins, 27 knockouts. How doesn't he have power?" I'm like, "Bro, watch how he fights. That is accumulative power. That's not one punch power. This isn't a guy who's standing there catching, shooting you and stopping you with one shot. This is a guy, and as you look at that resume, 4-rounder, 6-rounder, 8-rounder, Mexico. The first time he ever left Mexico was in Japan against was it Rikishi? Mashori Rikishi? And so, like, the world level experience wasn't there. And then against Chris Diaz-Veyes, who Navarrete fought and stopped, Chris Diaz-Veyes was in that fight. He lost, but he was in that fight. And then it's like, okay, you start putting things together like, all right, that's a bit manufactured. And I also said if his name wasn't Sugar Nunez, if his name was John Smith, even if John Smith was 29-1 like he was with 27 knockouts, and this is John Smith from Tacoma, USA, would he have all that pub on him? You throw Sugar in front of a name, boy, boxing fans love it. Great marketing. Thanks, Toya. Appreciate you. Appreciate the support. Thank you. Maybe I was biased, but I thought Smalls won 5 rounds. You weren't biased. I mean, 4 easy, first 4 clean cut. I think if you rewatch it, if you watch the last minute of the 4th, you could start seeing what I was seeing. And then Tamir came out in the 5th, looked good in the first minute of the 5th, because he got a talking to. In between rounds 4 and 5, you could hear Bozy giving him a little bit of a shellacking verbally, and then he came out. I was like, okay, he looked great, but it was only for a minute, and that was, in my opinion, that was his last push. And then Abel did just enough in the mid to last of the 5th to take that round, and that was the first round I actually gave him. And then the optics from that point on, when you start seeing the optics and you're doing your scoring, you're like, damn, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 4. Yeah, I wouldn't have been mad at a draw. I wouldn't have been mad at a draw. I'm glad they gave Abel the win too. Nav was pressing into Rose, but he was still working. He was working, man. Trini and Smalls, come on, brothers. I didn't win this weekend, but I'm happy we're going to do it. Rando, you'll be back. We'll be back. The wins are coming. I'm worried about the Dickens-Kakachi fight. I don't think Dickens beats Kakachi. But Dickens and Kakachi fight in 2 weeks, but due to the war in Iran, Dickens is training out of Dubai, and all the flights are grounded. So it's just something to keep an eye on. I wouldn't be shocked if Jazza has to pull out because he can't get home. All the flights are grounded right now. I don't know if anyone's talking about that. I'll talk about it. Those UFC fights were beautiful work. Watch every one of them. The younger generation fights, they know Joe. Yeah, man. I watch it's no secret. I watch every MMA fight just as I watch boxing. It's just the channel is streamlined around boxing. Instead of over 6.5 on Smalls Ramos, I did Smalls money line. I saw Smalls in person fight on the boots card. I wasn't impressed, but all my Philly affiliates said he'd stop Abel. Yeah, I know. I know. I don't know if you guys noticed. Some weeks, like for what I do personally, King, and what I've learned over the last 6 months, is that I will put my messages on silent of my boxing group. So I have a text message, a couple WhatsApp text messaging groups with other content creators on YouTube and fighters and guys who do what I do. But I don't always talk to them because over the last 6 months, I've been talked out of my first intuition bet, and then I've lost. So I've realized over the last half year that I do my best work when I'm, dialed in on just me and I'm not reaching out to people. So now it just depends on which fight it is. I knew there was a couple. Kelly Murtazaev, I knew from last August I was taking Kelly. I just love that style matchup. And so I wasn't going to let anyone talk me out of that one. And then Figueroa Ball as well, based off of what Sam did to Ball. I thought Sam Goodman fought Ball really tough. And he's a tiny 122 pounder. All this stuff matters, guys. Who's your favorite commentary, Johnny? Retired or still active? I like a 1994 to 2004 Jim Lampley. That's it. But after Lampley retired and came back. He's awful. Hopefully, I don't see him in the booth again. He was terrible in Times Square. It was an awful performance in Times Square. But he's an OG. He's a GOAT. But you asked. I like in his prime, dude, HBO boxing, dude. Come on. Guys, I got to wrap it up. We got a lot of work to do.